You have the floor.
President, thank you very much. Dear colleagues, we have this morning the opportunity to have the first exchange of views about the direction in which we are going to guide the budget of the Union for next year. I have put forward and sent to you the draft report on the guidelines for the EU budget for next year. These should be our political priorities on which we should start our discussions today. We are scheduled to have them open for amendments for colleagues and then to vote on them on the 6th of March in the committee and in the March plenary in Strasbourg. As you know, this is the opportunity for us to tell to the European Commission, before they put forward their draft budget in May, as we expected this year, to tell to the European Commission how we expect them to propose using the limited resources which we have at our disposal to do what the citizens of Europe expect from us. And I believe, and this is also going to be the motto which I am going to propose for the budget of the Union for next year, I believe that what the citizens of Europe expect us to deliver is growth, jobs in a secure environment. Because over the past 2 years we have been living through extraordinary times, and much of our energy and also the focus in our budgetary talks was about overcoming and managing the refugee crisis. This was, of course, a unique challenge, but my true belief is that we have to give a signal that we also do not forget about traditional priorities of the budget of the Union. And what people are, of course, concerned is the economy developing, the economy growing, and being able to provide to the citizens of Europe jobs. And the jobs which I want to see us supporting to be created are stable, are well paid, are socially sustainable jobs. And for this, of course, a strong economy is of essence. And this is why I will propose that we use the resources which we have available to strengthen our infrastructure, to invest in research, in innovation, to support SMEs, entrepreneurs. You all know the programs too well, under Horizon 2020, Connecting Europe Facility, COSME. And when it comes to innovation, research, we all know that the Horizon 2020 program, we all know that the approval rate of projects applying under the Horizon 2020 program was decreasing to 12% in the last year. This means that we are only able to finance 12% of the projects which apply. This is much below the levels that we had in the past. And why is this the case? This is the case because the Horizon 2020 innovation projects, like also Connecting Europe Facility, large infrastructure projects, we could not support as we would have wished to support them in the previous years due to the creation of EFSI, due to the challenges that followed the refugee crisis. So my message is 2018 is the year in which we have to give a clear signal to the citizens that we are going to support economic development and primarily job creation, stable, socially stable jobs, because as we dealt with the refugee crisis, which was important and which we have to continue dealing with, of course, in the next year, the economic situation is not improving by itself. So we need to continue making efforts to strengthen, to stabilize also our current currency, the euro. There are many areas, of course, many topics there which do not deal necessarily with the budget of the Union, but we should also, on the side of the budget of the Union, do what we can to stabilize, to strengthen the economy. Particular projects, EFSI, which was launched 2 years ago, which we believe is a good project, which I want to see continue. But of course, we should rest ready to further improve it, especially in terms of additionality, in terms of geographical spread. We should also give a clear signal to the young people of Europe that we stand by their side, continue the youth employment initiative, but in parallel, of course, also see if we can ameliorate it, if we can improve it, so that it creates stable, well-paid jobs for the people of Europe, and of course adequate funding for the Erasmus program. Cohesion policy I have always viewed as an investment policy, the primary investment policy of our budget, and I very much agree to the description which was put forward in the Monti report, which views the cohesion policy as a policy from which we all benefit, not primarily the net recipient countries, and we should move further from the juste retour approach, as described very well, I think, in the report put forward by Mr. Monti and where our Parliament contributed to. So economy and jobs on one side, but as I said in the beginning, the safety of the citizens, security is also important, because people do not feel confident, companies do not feel confident to create jobs, to enlarge their economic activity if there is no safety in Europe. And in terms of internal challenges, we all know the resources under heading 3 are extremely limited, and it's proven by the fact that we had to mobilize the flexibility instruments repeatedly, that the budget was not, and also the MFF was not conceived for the types of challenges that we saw with the refugee crisis, which of course we did not and could not anticipate in the year 2013 when the MFF was created. That's why we should think how we use the limited resources that we have, and in this area, under this heading, and my belief is that we have to primarily enforce, strengthen the agencies of the Union with competences in justice, home affairs, see how we can better coordinate their activities so that we improve on the safety of the citizens with spending, as I said, the money which we have available, but of course we can't spend the money which we don't have available under this heading. I also, in terms of safety, I also want us to look at our immediate neighbourhood, the eastern dimension and the southern dimension. And last year we were with colleagues of this committee in Jordan and Lebanon, Mr. President, visiting refugees there, countries which have received 1 million refugees each, and we have learned that a lot can be done with the support from the EU budget in those countries. It's much cheaper to provide support to the refugees closer to their countries of origins than it is here in the Union. And the agencies of the United Nations which are implementing the programs on the ground, they all recognize that they wouldn't be able to provide support, food, housing, drinking water to the refugees in the region hadn't it been for our support. So in that sense, I think it's important that we tackle the root causes of migration, of migration and of course of the refugee waves. I think that money spent there is money well spent, but of course we need to make sure that the money reaches its final beneficiary, that the results, that we have control mechanisms in place, that we prevent abuse of EU funds and fraud, and that money reaches its beneficiary and meets its objective. We should clearly improve on the health, on the education in those countries which are neighbouring countries to us, so that living conditions for people there improve in the sense that their need to come to Europe is of course decreased in that sense. To conclude, Mr. President, payments will be important next year. As we all know, the absorption rate in the first 3 years, 2014 to 2016, was very low. We expect operational programs to pick up speed next year, and the need for the payments to be much higher next year. So this will be an area to which we will have to look very carefully and make sure that we provide enough resources, because, as you know, there is nothing worse than the EU not being able to pay its bills. Finally, of course, when the report was put forward, we did not have the position of the Council on the MFF revision, the position of GAC, which we learned over the course of this week. I think there was a General Affairs Council this week, which is that there is no concluding progress there. So if the budget of next year, first, First affirmation which I want to make: everything which is being decided in the framework of the MFF revision, which will have an impact upon the budget of next year, of course we will implement immediately as a matter of priority. Everything that I will do will be in line with the MFF revision. But if there are elements which are evolving in the next weeks which we need to take into account also for the guidelines, I'm happy to do this in the form of amendments. And if in the second half of the year the MFF revision is not yet concluded and it will be linked to the budget negotiations for next year, of course we are there to play any supportive role that we can play. This being said, dear colleagues, Mr. President, thank you for listening to me this morning. I'm looking forward to the discussion and with the work with all colleagues, with all political groups on this dossier over the course of the next year. Thank you very much.